Look, everybody talk about wanting success. Everybody post quotes, share visions, speak on dreams like it's fashion. But when that alarm clock hit at 5 a.m., when that grind feel heavy and your mind say, not today, that's where most people fold. See, goals ain't achieved by talent alone. They're achieved by force, by discipline, by the type of hunger that don't need an audience. You gotta force yourself when you tired, when you uninspired, when nobody clapping for you. Because success ain't about how good you feel. It's about how consistent you stay when you don't feel good at all. So today I'm gonna talk about forcing yourself to achieve your goals. Not waiting on motivation, not waiting on the right moment, but forcing yourself to become the person your dreams require you to be. Force yourself to start even when you're not ready. That's where everything begins. See, most people think they need to have it all figured out before they take that first step. They wait for the timing to be perfect, the money to be right, the fear to disappear. But the truth is, that day never comes. You'll always find a reason to wait, a reason to stall, a reason to play it safe. But comfort don't create growth. The real ones, the ones who make it out, the ones who change their life, understand you gotta move before you feel ready. You gotta bet on yourself when nobody's clapping yet. You gotta take that first step even when the ground ain't stable. Because movement is what builds strength, not planning. When I first started pushing mixtapes, I didn't have a label backing me. I didn't have investors or a team to handle business. It was just me, my vision, and a few hundred CDs I pressed myself. I walked them streets in Crenshaw, hand to hand, face to face. I looked people in the eye and said, this my work, this my hustle. And that's what starting looks like. Ain't no glamour, no security, no applause. Just faith in motion. Every person I met, every block I stood on, that was me forcing myself forward. I ain't wait for no validation. I created it through effort. That's the difference between dreaming and doing. Dreaming keeps you in your head. Doing gets your hands dirty. You can sit around forever mapping out the perfect plan, reading, preparing, visualizing, but if you never take that uncomfortable first step, you'll stay stuck where you are. Fear gonna always be there whispering in your ear, you're not ready yet. You don't know enough, you might fail, but that voice, that's the same one that talks everybody else out of their purpose. If you want to separate yourself, you gotta stop listening to that fear. See, fear disguises itself as logic. It tells you to wait until you have more money, more time, more knowledge. But waiting is how potential dies slow. You don't build confidence by waiting, you build it by doing. Every time you move through fear, you weaken its power. You teach your mind that you're built for the pressure. The people who look like they got it all together didn't start that way. They just had the courage to begin before they felt prepared. And because they started, they learned what they needed on the way. You gotta force yourself to move even when it's dark, even when the path don't make sense yet. You might not see the full picture right now, but that's how life works. You get the answers after you act. Motion creates clarity. The more you move, the more you understand. Every mistake becomes a message. Every setback teaches you something you couldn't learn by standing still. You can read 10 books about swimming, but until you jump in the water, you'll never know how to stay afloat. I remember the early days when we built the Marathon store. We didn't have no blueprint. We just had an idea, a vision to create something for our community. We learned through trial and error. Some days it felt like we were building blind, but every mistake made the next move sharper. Every misstep taught us how to stand stronger. That's what forcing yourself to start does. It builds muscle, it builds resilience. You become a student of the grind. Most people think starting means you have to be fearless, but it's the opposite. Starting means you accept fear and move anyway. You stop waiting for permission and you give it to yourself. That's what separates leaders from followers. Leaders don't wait until they feel ready. They move because they know staying still kills momentum. When you push yourself through that hesitation, you create energy, and that energy starts to attract opportunity. People start noticing your motion. Doors start cracking open. The world responds to action, not intention. Every great success story starts with somebody who refused to wait. Think about that. Every business, every song, every invention, none of them were perfect on day one, but they became great because someone had the courage to begin. It's easy to doubt yourself when you're looking at somebody who's already made it, but what you don't see is the years they spent stumbling through their start. You looking at their highlight reel while they survived their rough draft. Don't compare your beginning to someone else's middle. You just gotta get moving. And look, you're gonna make mistakes. That's part of it. You're gonna fall flat a few times. You're gonna question yourself. You're gonna feel lost. But failure ain't the opposite of success, it's the foundation of it. Every failure teaches you what works, what don't, and what needs to evolve. Every L you take becomes a lesson that shapes your future wins. But none of that happens if you never start. You can't fail if you don't try, but you also can't win. Force yourself to start when the resources are few, when the plan is shaky, when your circle don't fully understand what you're chasing. That's when character forms, that's when hunger sharpens. Because once you push through that first wall, something changes inside you. You start realizing you don't need perfect conditions, you just need persistence. The first step don't have to be big, it just has to be real. Think about the people you admire, the ones who built something from nothing. They weren't chosen, they weren't handed opportunities, they created them through movement. They started with what they had, and they built on top of it every single day. The marathon wasn't run overnight. It was run by stacking days, one after another with discipline and faith. That's the formula. That's the blueprint. So if you're sitting there right now waiting on a sign, this the moment you decide to move. Don't let your fear write your future. Don't let your doubt dictate your destiny. Every day you wait, somebody else out there is starting with less than you got, pushing through more than you face, and still making it happen. That should motivate you. Force yourself to take that first uncomfortable step. Force yourself to be the one who begins while everyone else hesitates. You might not feel ready, but you'll never feel ready for greatness. You grow in a readiness by starting. Every time you show up, every time you push through the uncertainty, you proving to yourself that you're built for it. That's how dreams become reality. That's how you become who you were meant to be. Because success don't come to those who wait, it comes to those who start. Force yourself to stay consistent when it gets boring. That's the part nobody glamorizes. Everybody loves the idea of the grind. They love talking about dreams, vision boards, motivation, and success. But when the lights go off, when nobody's watching, that's where the truth shows up. Because motivation fades, excitement wears off. That first day energy don't last forever. The real question is, who are you when it's just repetition? When it's quiet, slow, and routine, that's the space where most people quit, and that's the space where the real ones get built. See, consistency don't look flashy. It looks like waking up early when your body tired. It looks like putting in hours when you ain't seeing no return yet. It's doing the same thing over and over until that muscle memory becomes second nature. And that's what separates winners from dreamers: discipline. Everybody can start something, but only a few can keep showing up after the motivation disappears. You gotta force yourself to keep moving, especially when the grind gets boring. I learned early that success ain't about what you do sometimes, it's about what you do every day. I used to see that firsthand in the studio. Some nights I ain't feel like writing, some days the inspiration just wasn't there. But I told myself, this is the difference between being average and being great. Average people work when they feel like it. Great people work whether they feel like it or not. That's the mindset that builds empires. When you force yourself to stay consistent, you build something that can't be faked. You start trusting yourself. You start building integrity with your own word. When you say, I'm going to do this, and you actually follow through, your self-respect grows, and that's the kind of energy that attracts real opportunities, because people respect consistency. They might not say it out loud, but they're watching. They're watching if you show up. They're watching if you keep your word. And every time you stay true to your grind, you're setting a tone for how the world treats you. But it's hard, I won't lie. The grind gets repetitive. You gonna have days where you ask yourself if it's even worth it. You gone question if anybody even noticing the work you put in. That's the danger zone. That's where most people tap out. But here's the truth. Just because you can't see results right now don't mean nothing ain't happening. Behind the scenes, that pressure building, that foundation strengthening. Every small step you take is adding up, even if it feels invisible in the moment. Think about it like the gym. You don't walk in there one day, lift a few weights, and walk out strong. It's a slow process. You don't see change for weeks, sometimes months, but one day you look in the mirror and realize something shifted. That's how life works. Consistency compounds. The more you show up, the stronger your results become. You don't grow through what's exciting. You grow through what's repetitive. Kobe Bryant was a perfect example of that. He didn't rely on hype. He relied on habits. Every morning before sunrise, he hit the gym. Not because he felt like it, not because cameras were on him, but because he understood the math of mastery. You can't become great by practicing occasionally. You become great by practicing relentlessly. He trained his mind to show up regardless of emotion. That's what you gotta do too. Train your mind to outlast your moods. The real battle ain't with your competition, it's with your own comfort. Your mind gone always look for shortcuts, for breaks, for comfort zones, but you gotta remind yourself comfort never built anything legendary. Every successful person you admire stayed consistent long after they stopped feeling motivated. They learned how to keep going when the world got quiet. They learned how to find purpose in the process, not just in the results. There were times in my journey where I ain't see no money coming in, no major label deals, no big stage moments, just grind. I'd wake up, record, plan, push product, repeat, same schedule, same hustle, same routine. But I told myself every day I stay consistent, I'm building something that can't be taken from me. You can lose money, you can lose followers, you can lose momentum, but you can't lose the discipline you built. That's a skill that stays with you forever. And that's the thing, consistency don't just create results, it builds character. It teaches you patience, it humbles you, it shows you what it really means to earn something. Because anybody can work hard for a week, anybody can be focused for a month, but can you stay locked in for years? Can you do the work even when it feels like nothing's happening? That's the kind of consistency that creates real success, the kind that lasts longer than hype. You gotta remind yourself daily, it's not about being perfect, it's about being persistent. Some days you'll fall off, some days you'll move slower, but as long as you don't stop, you're still winning. The world got this illusion that success is a straight line, but it's not. It's messy. It's filled with pauses, detours, dry seasons. But the ones who keep going through those dry seasons end up unstoppable. The truth is, consistency is the bridge between your goals and your results. Every small step, every disciplined act, every boring day you push through, It's a brick laid on that bridge. And one day that bridge gonna carry you right into everything you ever dreamed about. But you gotta build it one day at a time. So when it gets boring, don't back off, lock in deeper. When you're tired, remind yourself why you started. When nobody cheering, be your own motivation. Because real success don't come from excitement, it comes from endurance. You build that by showing up over and over. When you tell people stop asking if you're still working and start wondering how you never stopped, that's what separates the talkers from the doers. That's what makes your name echo long after the noise fades. Not the hype, not the spotlight, the consistency. Because at the end of the day, people gonna look at your life and say, that wasn't luck, that was work, and you gonna know it too. You'll look back at all those quiet mornings, those slow seasons, those days that felt repetitive, and realize that was the season that built your power. So force yourself to stay consistent even when it's boring, especially when it's boring, because that's where you become undeniable. That's where you stop being one of many and start becoming one of one. Force yourself to embrace discomfort. That's where the real growth lies. Most people run from pain. They dodge the pressure. They back away the second life gets heavy. But what they don't realize is every time you avoid discomfort, you avoid development. Discomfort is the gym for your mind, for your character, for your purpose. Every rep of struggle you push through, you build another layer of strength. Every test you survive becomes part of your armor. The people who win in life ain't the ones who had it easy. They're the ones who learned how to turn pain into power. See, we living in a time where everybody wants instant results. They want the reward without the work, the growth without the grind, the comfort without the climb. But life don't work like that. You can't evolve in a soft environment. Diamonds don't come from pillows. They come from pressure. You gotta force yourself to stay in uncomfortable spaces long enough to grow. That's where you learn who you really are. When I was building my brand, I had to invest every dollar I made. There wasn't no fancy lifestyle, no shortcuts, no safety net. I put everything back into the vision. While other people was out buying cars or designer clothes, I was buying equipment, investing in studios, building assets. And let me tell you, that wasn't easy. There were nights I couldn't sleep because the risk felt too high. There were times I wanted to relax, to enjoy what little I had. But I knew comfort was the enemy of progress. That sacrifice, that temporary pain, it built the foundation for everything that came later. It taught me discipline. It taught me focus. It taught me how to delay gratification for something greater. Discomfort sharpens you. It teaches you how to handle pressure when the stakes get real. Because if you can stay calm when things are uncomfortable, you become unshakable. Every situation that tries to break you is just testing how much you believe in yourself. It's like resistance training. The heavier the weight, the stronger you get. If you don't drop it, most people quit when it hurts. They hit that first wall of pressure and start telling themselves stories. Maybe this ain't meant for me. Maybe it's too hard. Maybe next time. But that moment right there, that breaking point, that's the threshold where success starts. The pain you feel when you're growing, that's your old self fighting to stay alive. You gotta kill that version of you to reach the next level. If you stop every time it gets uncomfortable, you'll keep restarting the same chapter. Think about athletes. They don't build strength by staying comfortable. They push until their muscles burn, until they feel like quitting. That's how growth works. It demands discomfort. Life the same way. You can't become stronger in spirit if you're always protecting yourself from struggle. Growth ain't gentle. It's a process that tears you down to rebuild you stronger. When I was coming up, the neighborhood I came from was full of obstacles. Every day felt like a test, no guarantees, no easy paths, but I learned early if you can stay focused in chaos, you can stay focused anywhere. That environment, as hard as it was, taught me how to operate under pressure. It made me resilient. It made me hungry. Sometimes your discomfort is the greatest teacher you'll ever have if you stop running from it and start learning from it. People think success feels good all the time, but that's a lie. Success is built in the seasons where it hurts the most. It's built when you're tired, when you're broke, when you're uncertain, when you still choose to move forward even though it don't make sense. Every breakthrough hides behind a wall of discomfort. You can't skip it. You gotta go through it. You can't cheat the process. You can't pray for growth and then run from what grows you. There were moments where I questioned everything, times when I thought maybe it'd be easier to just fall back, take a safe road, do what everybody else was doing. But every time I felt that pull toward comfort, I reminded myself, comfort don't create legacy. Comfort don't build empires. The greatest version of you only shows up when you put yourself in uncomfortable positions and demand more from your mind, your body, your spirit. Think about the seed buried in the dirt. That seed gotta break before it can grow. It gotta push through darkness before it ever sees light. That's what discomfort is. It's your dirt. It's what forces your potential to sprout. You don't become who you're meant to be until you've gone through something that tests you, breaks you, stretches you. You can't learn perseverance and peace. You can't develop discipline when everything going your way. The struggle is what molds you into the person capable of handling success when it finally arrives. A lot of people want the crown, but they don't want the weight that comes with it. But that weight, that's what keeps you grounded. That's what makes you appreciate the win when it finally comes. You gotta start looking at discomfort differently. Stop seeing it as punishment and start seeing it as preparation. Every delay, every rejection, every challenge, it's building you. It's making sure when you get what you prayed for, you're strong enough to keep it. Sometimes the reason you ain't got what you want yet is because life's still testing your capacity. You asking for success, but can you handle the pressure that comes with it? Every time I took a loss, every time something didn't go my way, I learned something that made me sharper. I realized those uncomfortable moments are blessings in disguise. They show you what you're made of. They show you who's really down for you. They show you how to stand on your own 2 feet. Discomfort strips away the fake and leaves you with truth. And here's the thing, once you train yourself to embrace discomfort, life hits different. You stop fearing change, you stop avoiding risk, you start moving with confidence because you know you've already survived worse. That's when you become unstoppable. When you're no longer scared to lose, you start playing to win. So don't run from discomfort. Don't pray for easy seasons. Pray for strength. Pray for wisdom. Pray for endurance. Because everything you're asking for, growth, greatness, success, peace, it's on the other side of discomfort. You just gotta force yourself to walk through it. The pain you feel now is temporary, but the person it builds lasts forever. Every uncomfortable season is molding you for the next blessing. So embrace it, because one day you'll look back and realize that everything that hurt you, everything that challenged you, everything that pushed you out your comfort zone, it all prepared you to become exactly who you were meant to be. Force yourself to cut distractions and excuses. That's one of the hardest things in today's world, because everywhere you look, something is fighting for your attention. Your phone buzzing, notifications popping, everybody trying to sell you a dream or drag you into theirs. The truth is, distractions are louder than purpose. You wake up in the morning with good intentions, but before you even touch your goals, you've already wasted an hour scrolling through what everybody else is doing. You call it research, you call it inspiration, but deep down you know it's just avoidance. Every scroll, every meaningless conversation, every wasted minute, that's time being stolen from your mission. You can't chase goals and feed distractions at the same time. One of them gotta starve, and the one you feed the most is the one that wins. You gotta start treating your focus like your most valuable asset, because it is. In this generation, focus is the new currency. Everybody got access to information, everybody got opportunity, but not everybody got the discipline to stay locked in. That's the difference between the ones who make it and the ones who talk about making it. You gotta force yourself to say no to the things that look good but don't grow you. It's not about being busy, it's about being productive. A lot of people mistake motion for progress. They'll do 100 little things that don't move them an inch closer to their purpose just so they can say they're grinding. But if your energy ain't aligned with your goal, you're just burning out your battery for no reason. Excuses are the comfort zone of the undisciplined. They sound smart, they sound logical, but they build nothing. You can't say you want success and then let laziness drive. You can't complain about not getting results while you're still feeding habits that keep you stagnant. If you're serious about your dream, you gotta stop explaining your inaction and start executing your vision. Every time you make an excuse, you giving your power away. You telling yourself, I can't control this, when the truth is, you can. You might not control your environment, but you control your effort. You control your focus. You control what you give your time to. I had to learn that lesson early. When I was building my movement, there was always something pulling at me. Street drama, people who didn't see the vision, temptations to chase quick money instead of long-term value. But I realized you can't live in two worlds. You can't build something legendary if you keep entertaining what's temporary. I had to cut distractions even when they came from people I cared about. That's the part nobody talks about. The emotional discipline it takes to outgrow your environment. Sometimes your biggest distractions got familiar faces. They love you, but they don't understand what you're chasing. And if you let them, they'll slow you down without even meaning to. You got to protect your focus like it's sacred, because it is. Discipline is saying no to everything that don't serve your vision. That means no to wasting time, no to pointless arguments, no to being around energy that drains instead of fuels. You gotta build boundaries that protect your peace and your productivity. If something don't align with where you're going, you can't afford it, no matter how good it feels in the moment. Real success requires sacrifice, and that sacrifice often looks like isolation. You might have to go quiet for a while. You might have to disappear from the crowd to work on yourself. That's the cost of building something that lasts. Look at the greats, the entrepreneurs, the athletes, the artists who changed the game. They built focus into their DNA. They weren't born more talented, they were just more intentional. They understood that every second counts. They didn't waste time chasing validation or trying to impress people who weren't on their path. They were too busy sharpening their craft, building their foundation, studying their field. Focus became their superpower. And that's what you gotta do. You gotta force yourself to lock in so hard that distractions lose their pull on you. Think about it. The world's designed to distract you. Every app, every platform, every headline, it's all fighting to keep your eyes off your own goals. The system profits from your attention. So if you don't control it, they will. You become a product of other people's agendas instead of the creator of your own destiny. That's why focus feels so rare today, because it's rebellion. In a world that feeds on your distractions, staying locked in is a form of power. It's how you take your life back. But it ain't easy. You're gonna have moments where focus feels like a fight. You're gonna crave that dopamine hit from distraction. You're gonna feel left out when everybody else partying while you're working. But that's where discipline steps in. Discipline is doing what you said you'd do long after the mood you set it in has left you. It's showing up to your mission every day, no matter how you feel. It's knowing that every sacrifice you make now is buying you freedom later. You either suffer from discipline or you suffer from regret. But either way, you gon' suffer. The difference is one builds you, the other breaks you. You gotta remind yourself daily what you want out of life. Write it down, visualize it, speak it over yourself. Because when you don't know your why, distractions sound louder. But when your purpose is clear, excuses lose their power. That's how you stay grounded. That's how you keep moving when the world trying to pull you in every direction. I remember times when the money was slow, when the buzz wasn't there, when it would have been easy to fall off track. But I kept my head down. I reminded myself momentum is built in silence. Every day you stay consistent, you building energy. And when that energy catches fire, that's when everything starts aligning. But you'll never get there if you keep letting distractions steal your focus. It comes down to choices. Every time you pick your phone up instead of picking your craft up, you're making a choice. Every time you complain instead of creating, you're making a choice. Every time you make an excuse, you're choosing delay over progress. And the more you choose distraction, the further your dreams drift away. So you got to be ruthless about what you allow into your space. Protect your energy like it's money, because it is. It's the currency that funds your future. Cut the noise, cut the excuses, cut the habits that make you feel good today but hold you back tomorrow. Force yourself to focus even when it's uncomfortable, because once you learn how to control your attention, you can control your life. And when you do that, nothing, no distraction, no doubt, no obstacle can stop the momentum you build. Force yourself to believe when no one else does. That's the real test, because it's easy to believe when people cheering for you, when the love's loud, when your wins are visible. But that belief don't mean much if it only exists when it's convenient. The real belief, the kind that changes your life, is the one you build in silence when it's just you, your dream, and doubt breathing down your neck. It's the kind of belief that survives when nobody claps, when nobody sees the vision but you. Because no matter how hard you grind, if you don't believe, you won't last. The grind will break you before it blesses you. Belief is what carries you through the seasons where the work don't match the reward. See, belief is invisible, but it's powerful. It's that internal engine that keeps running even when the tank look empty. It's what makes you show up on the days your mind telling you to quit. It's what keeps you recording when nobody listening. What keeps you writing when nobody reading. What keeps you training when nobody watching. You ain't doing it for validation. You're doing it because something inside of you refuses to die out. That's belief. It's not loud. It's not flashy. It's not about convincing others. It's about conviction. The kind of conviction that tells you, even if they don't see it yet, I know where this is going. When I dropped Crenshaw for 100 a copy, people laughed. They said I was crazy. They said nobody would pay that. But I wasn't selling a mixtape. I was selling value, culture, independence. I was testing belief, mine and theirs. I believed in what I built so much that I priced it like it was priceless. And guess what? The world caught up. That move turned into a statement, and that statement turned into a movement. That's what belief does. It turns doubt into fuel. It turns criticism into confirmation. But it only happens when you refuse to let the outside world define what's possible for you. Belief ain't something you borrow from others. It's something you build. You build it every time you show up after failing. You build it every time you choose faith over fear. You build it through repetition, through resilience, through results. Every small win becomes a brick in the wall of your confidence. And that wall, that foundation, is what you stand on when life tries to knock you down. Most people want belief to feel easy, but it's forged in pressure. You can't fake it. You can't post it. You gotta earn it. And the only way to earn it is to keep moving forward when logic says stop. You ever notice how people doubt you the most when you start doing something different? That's because your belief exposes their fear. When you move like you destined for more, it reminds people what they've settled for, and not everybody ready to face that. So they project their limitations onto you. They'll call you unrealistic. They'll call you lucky. They'll call you crazy. But what they really mean is, I don't believe that's possible for me. That's why you can't internalize other people's disbelief. It's not about you. It's about them. You got to protect your belief like a flame in the wind, because if you let too many opinions near it, they'll blow it out before it ever gets strong enough to light your way. The moment you start believing deeply, the world starts bending in your direction. That confidence becomes magnetic. It pulls the right people, the right situations, the right opportunities into your orbit. Not because life got easier, but because your energy shifted. People can feel when you're serious. They can sense when your belief ain't fragile. It's like gravity. It draws things toward you. That's why the most powerful thing you can ever do is believe so deeply that doubt looks foolish. But here's the truth. Belief without action is just a wish. You got to back it up with work. You can't just say, I believe, and then sit back waiting for something to happen. You got to force that belief into motion. Every day you show up, every hour you grind, you're giving that belief life. And the more you act on it, the more it grows. It's like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. But if you neglect it, it weakens. That's why you got to feed your belief with consistency, because faith and grind go hand in hand. There were times when the vision looked impossible, when the numbers didn't add up, when support disappeared, when everything I built felt like it was falling apart. But in those moments, belief was the only thing that kept me from collapsing with it. I used to sit in the studio for hours, broke, frustrated, questioning everything. And then I'd remind myself, you didn't come this far just to quit when it gets hard. That's how I kept going, not because I had proof it would work, but because I refused to let disbelief win. That's the space where miracles get born, between faith and grind. Every major breakthrough in your life gone test your belief first. You gone face rejection, failure, doubt, all before you see results. The universe want to see how bad you want it. Anybody can say they believe when things good, but real belief is tested in chaos. It's tested when the bank account empty, when the support system quiet, when success still looks like a rumor. That's when belief becomes your only currency, and if you hold on to it long enough, it multiplies. I seen people give up right before the blessing hit. They let a temporary loss convince them the dream wasn't real. But if they had just held the line a little longer, they would have seen the payoff. That's why you can't let the scoreboard define the season. Just because you ain't winning today don't mean you losing forever. As long as you still in the game, you got a shot. And belief is what keeps you in the game when everyone else walks off the court. Force yourself to believe when nobody else does. Because at the end of the day, your belief is your foundation. It's the root of your grind, the source of your power. People gone doubt you, circumstances gone challenge you, fear gone whisper that you ain't enough. But belief silences all that noise. It reminds you of who you are and where you're going. So even when the world don't see it, even when the evidence says otherwise, keep believing. Because belief creates reality. And if you keep that faith alive long enough, the same people who doubted you gonna be the ones asking how you did it.